Ba-bum, bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-bum, bum, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum. What's up, everybody? Just getting everything situated here before we start on our live. Let me make sure everything is working. Man, it's Monday morning. Okay, so that's working. That's working. Everything seems to be working the way it's supposed to be working. So that's nice. Let me make sure I post. Let me make sure everything's good on YouTube. All right, so we're good here. We're good here. Everything's good there. So now we just got to get started, man. Now we just got to get started. All right, I thought I'd start today with just a little recap on everything.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday. Your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show here on YouTube and for listening to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers on get left tackle. This is the last conversation we had on Friday afternoon. I had told y'all actually prior to that, when looking at what was next, that offensive tackle with Stone Forsythe in tow, with Taylor Moton coming back, and of course Ike Ekwonu recovering from that ruptured patellar tendon. I mentioned the name Rasheed Walker as someone to watch out for, and what do you know? Later on that day, the Panthers agree to a one-year deal worth up to $10 million with the former Packers left tackle Rasheed Walker coming over for the season, and then we'll see how it plays out. According to Adam Schefter from ESPN, his market did not materialize the way he thought it would after last year with Dan Moore getting paid a ton to leave Chicago to Tennessee. That was a lot of money.
Just so we're clear, once again, Rasheed Walker was supposed to be getting more than Dan Moore was last year. I don't think people realize how insane that is. People thought that he was going to be getting like upwards of maybe $24-25 million per year. That's how much Rasheed Walker was supposed to get. But from what the insiders are saying, I think NFL teams thought the Dan Moore signing was an overpay. So it sounds like that's what happened.
That teams, I guess, did not want to spend on a tackle on the open market. And rarely do you see quality left tackles hit free agency. Typically, they're traded. Laramie Tunsil's been traded multiple times in his career. We look at Trent Williams. He was traded out there to San Francisco. You want to keep your left tackle. And if you need to move on from them, you're going to trade and get some assets. Rarely do they walk in free agency. And at least last year, I think it was a 4-year, $84 million deal that Dan Moore got paid, which is a lot of money, but it's not top of the tackle market money. The NFL did have a ton of teams that are looking for left tackles this year. They also didn't really want to spend that much. And the gun charge probably factored into it as well. But it's good for Carolina. You get the top tackle.
Rasheed Walker, by the way, I've seen some chatter about Rasheed Walker potentially signing like a multi-year extension. I don't see that happening, fam. I don't see the Rasheed Walker signing as this is going to be a guy that we kind of signed to a multi-year deal. I think I know that there's questions about Icky, but I do think that they want to continue to develop Icky. Now, the problem with Icky is that he's facing a pretty bad injury that he needs to come back from. But I'm not. I mean, like it's a thing. It's a thing. But I really do think they want to continue to develop Icky the way that they are, developing Icky. And so I think this is a 1-year rental because he's going to want his bag. Like, he's going to want his bag. And there is no way Carolina is paying him what he wanted to get paid.
Tackle out on the market for cheap. 1-year deal, again, worth up to a max value of $10 million. And I don't know what's going to happen once Icky is ready to go this upcoming season, if he is ready at all. But Carolina has a left tackle who has graded out higher as a pass blocker than Icky has ever at any point in his career, although they may be taking a step back as far as run blocking goes. But I'm guessing you are more focused on the pass blocking efforts of your left tackle than the run blocking efforts. So Rasheed Walker, he checks that box. Stone Forsythe, another box that needed to check was swing tackle. They got that figured out. At center, Luke Fortner wasn't great in Jacksonville, got traded, had an opportunity last year in New Orleans where he played better. The Panthers saw him 2 times a season ago, so clearly that was good enough. And the 2 losses Carolina suffered, which neither one of them should have happened to New Orleans. We understand that. At the end of the day, didn't really matter. Would have been less stressful there in his last half of the season, last month of the season, rather, having lost to New Orleans and not lost to him early in the year as well, but they did. So it is what it is. But Luke Fortner, 1-year deal worth up to $4.75 million. I would expect him to be the starting center, even though I still think Carolina should look to possibly address that next month in the draft. And
look, here's the thing that Dane Brugler said. Dane Brugler said that there are multiple starting centers. By the way, Dane is the draft analyst over The Athletic. I would say that him and Daniel Jeremiah are the leading guys when we talk about, hey, who are the guys in the draft space that are very good? I still think, especially in round 4, if any of those centers are available, you go get a center. If any of the centers are available, you go get a Connor Lew. You go get a guy like that.
Edge, inside linebacker were the 2 positions that had to be handled on Monday. When looking at the Panthers defense, they got and signed Jalen Phillips to a 4-year, $120 million deal with the Panthers with $80 million in guarantees. The contract terms are actually out. Going to do a 10-minute bonus episode later on Monday, just discussing where things stand at edge rusher and also go into detail with what Jalen Phillips is making this year and also some of the things he had to say on Monday morning as we'll speak to him at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So 4 years, $120 million, a massive signing for Carolina. They get Jalen Phillips come over from Philadelphia. Then an inside linebacker later on that day, Devin Lloyd, 3 years, $45 million deal, worth up to $25 million guaranteed. They get 2 starters, 2 of the guys who are the top of their positions in this market. That is a job well done by Dan Morgan, Brant Tillis, Dave Canales, and all involved there within this organization's front office. Secondary priorities were wide receiver, 2, really get a veteran wide receiver. Like, I wanted to see them get a wide receiver 2 to be right there with T-Mac and with Jalen Coker. Maybe you look at Jalen Coker's wide receiver 2. I wanted a veteran who was proven in this league, who could come in and could replace XL in that starting trio and be a guy that Bryce could lean on. Now, did they address it to my liking as far as they got like a Romeo Dobbs kind of player? And I get it. There's not endless money. I totally understand all of that. No, they did not do that. But John Mechie does at least check the box of a veteran wide receiver. And you like it a lot more considering that he has a relationship going back to his time at Alabama with your quarterback, Bryce Young. So he signs a 1-year deal. I don't think the terms are out on that just yet. I can't imagine. It's a ton of money. It's a prove-it deal. It can be incentive-laden. So the Panthers, they check off that secondary priority. Also, quarterback 2, which was not a top priority, but certainly.
I think that part of what's going to happen too, in terms of, there's a lot of our fans are really excited about Mechie, right? And look, here's what the Mechie thing shows me, if we're honest. What the Mechie thing shows me is that the Panthers are willing to go get a guy that Bryce Young has familiarity with. That's what it shows me. And that's exciting. Like, as a fan, I am excited. Oh, I've got a comment here. I've got a comment. Ooh. Hey, Michael, you're on. I didn't know comms program. If Icky can go for the future, I could see if Icky can't go for the future, I could see them overpaying Walker for another year and then replacing Icky in next year's draft. That's true. I think by the way, sorry, I just read your comment right now. I didn't know that the comments were working on Twitter. I thought they were only working on YouTube. But yeah, like I think probably what's going to happen is, if we're honest, I think probably what's going to happen is that Walker is going to demand he's going to demand a higher contract. Like if he plays like he did last year, that contract will go up to me. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see what happens. But my guess would be that he's got to be furious with himself for everybody to be thinking that he's going to make 20. I think he's going to one day Dan Moore kind of contract. So that's what I think is probably going to happen. But that's just me. That's just me. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because like it's what a free agency signing. Yeah, thanks, man.
Certainly was something that they obviously wanted to do this offseason. Kenny Pickett, they signed him to a 1-year deal worth up to $7.5 million. That includes $4 million in guarantees. So you needed someone to come in to compete with Andy Dalton, and I think hopefully replace Andy Dalton and get younger at that position. And Kenny Pickett, of the guys that were on the market, is young. He's had opportunities to start, was a first-round pick in a bad quarterback draft class. But you look at it now, Malik Willis, he's getting an opportunity to be a starter down in Miami with the Dolphins. Maybe Kenny will get another opportunity.
You know what else I saw? We now have, pretty random, we now have 2 first-rounders from the 2022 class. So Kenny Pickett was drafted in 2022 in the first round by the Steelers, and Devin Lloyd was also signed. So we now have 2 of those guys signed.
Later on in his career, but so far he's gone from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia to Cleveland for a little bit, then over to, I believe it was Arizona this past season. No, the Raiders this past season, somewhere in the desert. But yeah, he was a Las Vegas Raider this past year. Now he's coming to Carolina. And I think the hope is, at least, this season, he'll take over, be your quarterback too. I think for me, looking at this team moving forward, you want Bryce to continue to show you that he is the guy, but you also want to have a long-term backup behind Bryce who has experience. And that, to me, can very easily be
Mike K brought this point up, and I want to bring it up because I thought it was a really good point. If we go look at what Mike said, but Mike K essentially said, let me see if I can share this tab instead. Also, by the way, I'm hoping that we can get a press conference with Phillips, because that's what Mike said was going to happen. Also, there's a new mailbag that you put up. But let me see. What did he say? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Also, kind of interesting that he said to this. Oh, the audio is not working. So let me try to figure out why the audio is not working. Give me 1 second. 1, 2. 1, 2. Oh, the audio is not working. So let me try to figure out why the audio is not working. Give me 1 second. 1, 2. 1, 2. Why is the audio not working? The audio is not working. So let me try to figure out why the audio is not working. Give me 1 second. 1, 2. 1, 2. Why is the audio not working?
Harder money. But if he does start like he did last year, starting and playing in every single game, he will make up to $3.25 million. So we'll see what the plan is there. I did not think last year when they brought back Nick, the plan was for him to be a starter. Then we get to training camp and we see, oh, Nick Scott's not coming off the field. He very clearly is a starter. It's not Damani Richardson, who I guess we overvalued heading into last season. And it wasn't Lathan Ransom, who I don't think too many people thought immediately. Maybe people did. I think you would have thought eventually last season he would have taken over as starter. That never.
The crazy thing about there was a lot of conversations over the weekend about Nick Scott, right? My take on Nick Scott is that he was fine last year. Like, Nick Scott did not play as bad as some of y'all thought he played. Nick Scott was more than okay. And the narrative, I mean, I think what happened is during the offseason and during the during the preseason, we just thought Nick Scott was terrible, right? Like, we just thought Nick Scott was not as bad as some of y'all think he was. Nick Scott was not as bad as some of y'all think he was. Now, was he a top 10 safety in the league? No. Was he a serviceable starter? He was. Nick Scott was not as bad as some of y'all think he was. So, like, I'm just saying, he wasn't as bad. He was not as bad.
Never happened. It was Nick and it was Javon Merrick. Both those guys were healthy all last season long. And Nick actually played pretty well, considering how he had performed the last 2 seasons in Carolina's first year in 24, then in 2023 in Cincinnati when he was the lowest rated starting safety in the league. He's bounced back the last couple of seasons, especially last year. And I'm going to put him as a starter at this moment in time. We'll see what they at least address safety. Maybe much like a veteran wide receiver, not to the level that I would have liked seeing him do it. But again, you can only spend so much money. There's only so many available options. And who are the available options who would know the scheme, be a fit, and actually be better than Nick Scott? I'm sure you're saying a lot. We don't ever know because that's what they're going to go with at this point in time. The non-essentials for me were tight end, running back, offensive guard, defensive tackle, and cornerback, outside cornerback B in particular. They have not brought in a tight end. Yes, they brought back James Mitchell. We'll talk more about the guys they've retained here momentarily. They've not brought in a new running back.
Yeah, so here's what I think is going to happen in that running back room. The running back room, I don't think there's any desire for that running back room to get deeper right now. I think that they are really confident. And by the way, Canales said this at the combine presser. Canales said, we're very, very confident in the room. And I know the Panthers sometimes do a little like misdirection and say that they're going to no. Like they're confident with Brooks. Now, the issue with Brooks is he's coming off his second knee surgery. Like, that's a problem. It's a problem for, it's a problem. So, and the issue too is like this running back class is not as deep as it has been, like as it was last year. Last year, there was a lot of depth to this running back room this year, there's not a lot of depth. Like there's just this is not a deep running back class by any stretch of the imagination. It's just nobody really wants a running back. I mean, outside of Jeremiah Love, maybe, but like after Love, this running back gets maybe Coleman, maybe Washington, but those are round 2, maybe round 3 guys. So I think they want to give ETN a shot. I think that they think that Chuba Hubbard is going to have a bounce back year. Chuba Hubbard did not have a good year. Like let's just call it what it is. Chuba Hubbard did not have a good year. Now, he was hurt for part of the year. I think that's an element of it, but he did not have a good year.
No new guards, no defensive tackles that are new, no outside corners that are new. So when you look at right now, what do they need? They need a punter. Sam Martin still out there, can be signed at any point in time. He was good for them. He was an upgrade over what they had in Johnny Hecker. They got about, I think, 15, 19 days younger when they made that move last year to move on from Hecker, then to sign Sam Martin. I'm guessing, much like last offseason, they weren't willing to pay the kind of money it took for Eddie Pinheiro, who, by the way, got paid this offseason by the 49ers. Carolina didn't want to do that. They want to get younger. They went out and got Ryan Fitzgerald, who was excellent for them last season. And I'm guessing that with punter, they want to do the same thing. They don't want to spend the money, and they want to go out, get younger, go get her undrafted free agent rookie out of college. So we'll monitor that. But right now, what they really need at this point in time is a nickel corner and a punter. Everywhere else, it's all about depth. And the Panthers so far have done a really good job retaining their depth this offseason. We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight out. Then you can apply the profit boost, building out your...
Need a key fob? Don't go to the dealer. Keyless Entry Remote Ink has you covered.
Your depth is also vital to a team's success heading in to a new season. And so far, I think the Panthers have done a really good job of that. They had 24 free agents heading into the new league year. 18 of them were unrestricted, 4 were restricted, and then 2 were exclusive rights free agents. And so far, they've retained 13 of those 24. You look at the 18 unrestricted free agents. Austin Corbett, he's still out there on the market. I would not expect him to be back after the last couple of years of being injured. He's likely, as you see, and they want him to be center the last couple of seasons. Has not worked out. They've signed Luke Fortner, so it looks like he's on his way out the door here in Carolina. Off the tackle, Josh Nyman, he's decided to retire. Cade Mays, he's going up to Detroit to be their starting center. So those are 2 guys they've lost on the offensive line. Brady Christensen, Jake Kurhan, both of those guys still available. I did talk to Brady back in January, locker room clean out. I mentioned this a couple times. He did say it sounded like they wanted him back. I don't think, as we've seen, they wanted him back on March 9th or on March 10th or by the time they got to new league year. They were focused on other acquisitions that they've made so far.
That's interesting. I have not heard today. I had not heard. Julian is the first one essentially that's saying this. Julian is the first one that is saying that he felt like, ooh, another comment. What's up, man? I think if Emmett Johnston is there in the 4th, 5th round around, they would gladly grab him. We don't have a running back like him that also is a catch threat who fights for additional yards. Yeah, I need to be honest, man. I have not done a deep dive on the running backs. I've done a deep dive on the wide receivers. I've done a deep dive on the edges. This is a very deep edge class, but I'll need to go look at Emmett Johnson. So I'll make sure to, I'll make sure to do that. So, but I appreciate you saying that. But yeah, if Dan's definitely not going to spend capital, I think. I mean, obviously not in round 1, not in round 2. I think if there is a running back, it'll be later. But I'm just like, I'm hoping Brooks, and look, we don't know. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just hoping Brooks is better than he's been in terms of being able to be available, right? Like, I'm just hoping Brooks can be available because it's going to be hard if he's not. We need him. We need him to be available. And even the couple games he played a couple years, a little over a year ago, he looked good. He looked elusive. But I'm just not on this. I'm not on this agenda that there's an agenda in the national media that Chuba Hubbard is bad, right? And I don't believe that. And if you look at the metrics, I can see why people land there. Like, he did not play well. if for those of us that play a little fantasy football too, all the metrics, and by the way, fantasy football metrics can also be good in real life metrics, right? Like yards after contact, he was dead last. Forced missed tackle rate, so how often you're you're doing that, really, really bad. Now he was hurt, and I think what fans forget is that this Panthers offensive line was not good last year. Like, this Panthers offensive line was just not good. There were tons of injuries, there were tons of things that happened. I think whether you use ESPN's grading system or PFFs or anybody's, like, it was bad altogether. Like, this offensive line was not good. But I think people get lost, and it's like, well, we had a good offensive line. That offensive line was depleted all year. I think one of the reasons Chuba played so well last year, I mean, not last year, but the year before, is because the compactness of that offensive line really, 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 really helped them. It helped them tremendously. And the fact that that offensive line play decreased this year was a problem. It was a problem.
So now here in like the third wave of free agency, where you're going to see a lot of players who are still available, maybe take some visits elsewhere and try to figure out what the market is, what the money's available for each of these teams, where they fit in. Brady might be one of those guys who's coming off of an Achilles tear. And that is something where Carolina, they've already had him in-house. It would make it probably easier for him to come here than elsewhere. As we've already seen with physicals, those can be failed. Even a player very clearly is going to play that season and probably be just fine, like with Max Crosby and the Ravens. Teams may prefer to actually not deal with that and not have the questions surrounding a player like that. So Brady Christensen would make sense as somebody they want to bring back just so they can have more depth there. At guard right now, all you have is Chandler Zavala. Then at center, you have Nick Samak. But that's it as far as interior offensive linemen. Now, there is Ja'Tyre Carter, who was getting some burn last year when there was some injury concern. So he could make some sense. He may have made the roster. Maybe it was either last year or the year prior to that. All these years just blend together, y'all. But he was somebody that was on his way, it looked like, to making the roster, then had an ankle injury and then was cut. So that's another guy to look at as far as depth goes. But as far as experience depth, you would like to maybe have someone like Christensen back. Well, the only issue is the injuries, and that is going to be a concern moving forward. And Curran, I don't know whether they really want to do that. Now, looking at the rest of it, David Moore, he's coming back as well. Rico Dowdle, as we know, he's off to Pittsburgh. Carolina's got 3 running backs that they like. They're going to bring somebody else in. I think UDFA or just a draft pick on day 3 would make some sense there. Outside linebacker, DJ Wonnum, still available. I think it's time to move on. They've already replaced his starting job by going out and signing Jalen Phillips to a, again, 4-year, $120 million deal. And DJ sucks, the health issues, the blood clots, where he missed half the season his first year in Carolina in 2024, then last year just did not give him nearly enough, and they have made a massive upgrade there. So I think he should be gone. Travis Gibson's coming back, so you're good there as far as building out some depth at outside linebacker. And then linebacker, inside it is Christian Roseboom still out there. I would think Roseboom would make some sense to come back to Carolina. Chris Barnes, not so much, but Roseboom, I think there should be some interest. Now, he did get to be a starter last year, was really a starter in Los Angeles with the Rams a year prior to that. Maybe he's trying to find a starting job. There may be something available, but this was a year where, with as many linebackers coming out of the draft and just even available in free agency, it was going to be tough for some of these guys who may have started to be able to get an opportunity to start elsewhere when there could be cheaper options. And I don't expect he's going to be an expensive option for Carolina or anyone else. But I would look at him as somebody potentially coming back in that corner. They brought back Caleb Evans. They brought back Robert Rochelle. Both of those guys are going to be special teamers for them this upcoming season if they make the roster. And then Nick Scott coming back in, I would pencil in as a starter. We'll see if there's going to be a true competition between him and Lathan Ransom.
I think it's going to be really, if they do re-sign Roseboom, like if by some, hold on, guys. We have a live. Oh, this is going to happen live. Give me 1 second. We've got some news. We've got some news. Jalen Phillips' first presser as a Panther is coming up momentarily. Are we going to be able to cover this live? This is kind of fun. Oh, this is kind of fun.
Or if there's somebody else they're looking at this point in time, but he's back. Isaiah Simmons is back to be right now a special teamer, maybe more for them. And then JJ Jansen obviously back. So the 18 unrestricted free agents, they'll bring back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, losing 10. Well, at least 7 of them, we don't know what's going to happen with them. Josh is retired. Kate is gone. Rico's gone. I would guess that Corbett's probably done. Curhan's probably done. Wonham's done. Barnes probably done. Mathis probably done. And then Sam Martin, we'll see how that plays out for him. Then when looking at restricted free agents, they brought back all 4 of those guys. James Mitchell, LeBron.
So once again, Joe Person from The Athletic literally just said that he is thinking that well, he's not thinking. He knows that the presser is going to happen any second now. So momentarily. So let's see what happens. Have the Carolina Panthers said anything about it? Carolina Panthers. Yeah. So they haven't put out, but Joe Person put something out saying that it's about to start momentarily. So we'll continue listening to Julian, and then we'll go from there. But that'll be exciting.
Ray, Thomas Incoom, and Claude Sherrills. Now, Claude was not until Friday. The other 3, Mitchell, Ray, and Incoom, had all agreed to deals that were not the RFA tender prior to the start of the new league year on Wednesday last week on the 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Sherrills took a little bit more time, but he's coming back for another year, and that's good as far as depth there at inside linebacker and also having a core special teamer, and that's really what he and Incoom are for this roster. And then exclusive rights free agents. Neither one of these guys are going anywhere because they really couldn't actually talk to any other teams. But Jalen Coker and Bryson Tremaine, both those guys have been tendered, and we'll figure out what the contract's going to look like for both of them. I'm thinking Coker is going to get a deal that maybe makes sense, like a 2-year deal, where Tremaine, we'll see. I have someone who keeps commenting on YouTube saying I'm undervaluing Bryson Tremaine. Okay. I don't know who he's supposed to be playing over at this point in time, but the Panthers don't seem to have him in their plans to be one of their top 3.
I think Bryson to me is a huge guy, and he's a huge guy on special teams, right? And he did make I need to look up his stats. I mean, he did make some catches, but I don't think the reason that Bryson Tremaine is back on this team is not because of his playmaking ability. I think they like that he provides a fill-in for the Panthers, but there's no, I'm not under the illusion that he provides any kind of wide receiver 3 competition to anybody, including Xavier Legette, who has not been good.
Now, will he be back on the roster? Likely, as more of a special teamer and a guy who can be in there to help in run blocking, and he did catch a couple balls last season. So I think Tremaine's story has been really great. Am I undervaluing him? I mean, look at how the team is going about their wide receiver positions the last couple of years and how much investment's been made there and guys they brought in. So maybe the Panthers are undervaluing Bryson Tremaine. So there's a response to the person who keeps commenting on that on every single video. My bad, I guess, for undervaluing Bryson Tremaine, who turned out to be a nice story and a solid player for Carolina.
Julian getting mad about that is really funny. Well, I guess he's not really mad about it, but
Carolina maybe will turn out to be more, and that person will be very prescient and know what's going on with that. So yeah, so looking at the depth overall, what else are they missing as we head into this second full week of free agency? We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. Your documents get uploaded straight to depth right now.
Watch how this tiny thing removes all mold from my musty basement in just 48
as they head into the second week of free agents. So we've gone over what they need to do, the priorities, like left tackle, like edge, like inside linebacker, and like center. They've taken care of all 3 of those. They have a starting Rasheed Walker at left tackle. They got Luke Fortner, who I expect to be the starter at center. And then obviously Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd are going to start at edge and at inside linebacker. Secondary priorities, they brought in a veteran wide receiver in John Mechie. They got a QB2 to compete with Andy Dalton and Kenny Pickett. They have Nick Scott coming back at safety. Then some of the non-essentials. They have addressed these positions, but they have not gone out and paid big money for anybody in free agency. And that was tight end, running back, offensive guard, defensive tackle, and corner. Again, the depth is so important on this roster. It's important to get a punter because they need one. It's important to get a nickel corner who is, I think, a vet, but maybe they're not going to do that. It's also important to have guys behind the guys who can come in and help to keep the standard they have here in Carolina.
All right. I think we've seen enough of Julian. Appreciate Julian and what he said there. I mean, Julian, the thing I like about Julian is that he's doing what I'm doing, right? Just every day he talks about the direction of this team, what he thinks about this team, all that stuff. So he's phenomenal. Once again, Joe Person is reporting that there's going to be a conference coming up with Jalen Phillips where they're going to announce him. Oh, it's happening right now. Hold on. Wait, what? Are people tweeting about it? Hold on. I guess people are. So it's happening. I'm confused. confused. Where are we at? Yeah, they haven't gone live. So that hasn't happened. But our good friend David Newton says I'm very, very confused. So people are tweeting. Where are? Is it a closed session? Because normally what happens is that they're not saying that he's live. Like what? I guess I'm just confused. I'm very, very confused. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Like maybe I'm missing something, but I just do not see where this is at. Oh, here we go. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Because normally there's anyways, I guess I'll just have to keep y'all updated as it goes because I don't see anywhere to be able to watch it, I guess is what I'm saying. But like I don't see anywhere in terms of
Heart emoji. Heart emoji.
The best group chats happen in real life.
He's so funny. I love you guys.
All right, let's talk about one of the newest Carolina Panthers defenders, Devin Lloyd, who I just think is a really good player and does a lot of nice things for Carolina. So, usually I like to show film from both perspectives, the defensive film of the team that you're going to and also the player itself. Here, mostly just talking Devin Lloyd film, although I will touch on how it is similar to what Carolina likes to do. Although, starting off with something like this, a blitzing play, which isn't what Carolina does a ton. They're around middle of the road for blitzing, so it's not like they don't blitz either. But anyway, you see right here, left tackle is going to pick up Devin Lloyd on this play. Watch how it begins. So again, kind of a clever blitz the way that Jacksonville is doing it, where they have kind of everyone on the defensive line shift. So tackle not really expecting Lloyd to be the one he has to block until right now. But watch Lloyd just drive over him. I mean, Mahomes somehow gets the ball out of his hands and gets a first down out of it. Good running by Hollywood Brown too once he made the grab. But that's good stuff there from Devin Lloyd, right, to be able to do that. And I think that that's something you like about him as a player is he does all the small things really well. And there's things that maybe don't show up. In fact, often don't show up in, on the broadcast, but can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing plays and winning and losing games. Like this play is a good example of plays that actually have impacts in significant ways. So here, it's, again, a clever play call for Kansas City right here, where they're going to have a tight end start from the offense's right, go to the offense's left. That tight end is Travis Kelce. Might have heard of him. You see where Devin Lloyd is on the field. He's the one who I've circled in white. Watch how when Mahomes does this, kind of fakes those, going to hand the ball back. A lot of trickery right here, but they want to get it to Kelsey in space. Devin Lloyd has stepped in because it might be a running play, not sure exactly what the concept is. Now realizes, oh, Kelsey isn't trying to block me right here. Kelsey is trying to get out and run a route. And so watch what he does. Look at how he just knocks Kelsey over. Doesn't stay out of the play, but Mahomes looked at that, had to go elsewhere. And again, Mahomes is so quick at processing these things. The second he notices Lloyd does that, he then runs and again just does what he can on the play. Made it turn it into a decent gain. But that play did not work solely due to what Devin Lloyd was able to do on the play. And I think going over here, to me, this is what Carolina just quite frankly needed, is to have good outside corners, but they play a lot of zone coverage and just quite frankly don't often do a great job at covering over the middle. I think that's something that's just an area they needed to improve upon. And I think a lot of people will say, okay, how important is an off-ball linebacker really? And there are understandable debates about it, but this play is exactly why I think off-ball linebackers can still add a ton of value to a team and why Carolina wanted to make sure they went out and got him. So you see where he is. I've circled him in white. Watch how when this play begins, so there is a route kind of going over his zone right here. So, okay, doing his job, covering that situation. But here's what I like about Devin Lloyd is he just has a good understanding for NFL concepts. And a lot of times what you want to do when you run a concept is you're not actually just running to get a guy in an area where he can be successful. A lot of times what you want to do is you want to have one player maybe draw Devin Lloyd further over the middle so you can set someone else open to where that zone was, which is what Kansas City is doing here. But watch Lloyd, again, just realize what's happening, covers that next route, and because of it, again, Mahomes wanted to look over there, but Devin Lloyd, knowing exactly how to cover guys and when to cover those guys in his zone defense, essentially forced Mahomes to have to look elsewhere on the play. Go over there, but Devin Lloyd, knowing exactly how to cover. A lot of times what you want to do when you run a concept is you're not actually just running to get.
One of the things that we're going to have to get used to, and I know that people have a very limited perspective on how the scheme works. Jalen Phillips is going to drop into coverage sometimes. Evero, who comes from a Fangio-like system, by the way, likes to drop players. They like to drop players in coverage, and they like to bring like pressures or blitzes that are more like simulated. It's called sims, right? And so you might have Devin Lloyd come through. You could have, so don't be so shocked. Don't be so shocked if Jalen Phillips drops into coverage. That's a lot of that happened with Philly last year.
Get a guy in an area where he can be successful. A lot of times what you want to do is you want to have one player maybe draw Devin Lloyd further over the middle so you can set someone else open to where that zone was, which is what Kansas City is doing here. But watch Lloyd, again, just realize what's happening, covers that next route, and because of it, again, Mahomes wanted to look over there, but Devin Lloyd, knowing exactly how to cover guys and when to cover those guys in his zone defense, essentially forced Mahomes to have to look elsewhere on the play. That play was over because of what Devin Lloyd was able to do on that play. So it's really good stuff. And also this next play, so it's going to happen here. So this is a first and 10. You see the concept though. Lloyd is going to. It's a little bit tricky because again, Kansas City, they're all about trickery. They're all about confusing opposing defenses. So you see here, Lloyd's route that he's going to actually have to cover is the player who's lined up in the backfield's route. Watch how he's able to read when this play begins though, and get past all.
Coming from Wallace and Roseboom, having a competent linebacker that can cover like in space is going to be so incredible. Like I can't tell y'all how excited I am. It is nothing short of remarkable and incredible. I'm so happy that we have somebody that can actually cover somebody.
The traffic and still get over and cover this. Now on this play, Mahomes is looking elsewhere, and that's actually good news for Jacksonville because two guys ended up on Kelsey, which if you're going to screw up, that's the way you want to screw up. Put too many guys on Kelsey, but Juju Smith-Schuster is open over the middle. Mahomes just happened to be looking elsewhere. But again, it's good stuff from Devin Lloyd. He did his job well, figures out despite all of the traffic. I mean, you see on this play, it was a little bit confusing for Jacksonville. They blew to coverage, but Lloyd didn't. He understood where he had to go, is in position to make a play. And again, ball goes elsewhere, kind of, irrelevant to that one. Not a great throw from Mahomes. Hey, I was praising him earlier. I could criticize him on this one. Weird how anytime you talk about show Kansas City tape, you end up talking about Mahomes a little bit. But yeah. But again, little things like this are really what I look towards with Devin Lloyd and say, yeah, this is what Carolina needs. It just is. And this is going to be a big addition for.
If you look at pass coverage grades, Devin Lloyd was like dead last in terms of not Devin Lloyd. I'm sorry. The Panthers were like one of the worst. That linebacker room could not like cover. So let's look at what some of the, so apparently there's not a video, but the Panthers beat reporters are tweeting out about stuff
for them. You see where he's supposed to cover, and this actually looks to be more of a cover 6 than a cover 3, but you see Lloyd, he's going to have to cover a lot on the bottom of the screen. And the reason why Jacksonville is so shifted over towards the offense's left is there are 3 receivers on that side of the field. There are 2 on the right side of the field, one of which is a halfback, though. So you want to put the extra attention towards the offense's left. That's what they're doing. When this play begins, okay, one receiver runs deeper. So, okay, for Lloyd, he says, got it. Corner has to cover that route. But he also, knows he has to cover the running back. But you see where he has positioned himself. He's kind of getting in the way of the angle of if Mahomes wanted to throw towards the right away, it would just be trickier, right? He's being a little bit patient on going out towards the halfback because it can be. Hey, if Mahomes decides to throw it to the halfback now, Lloyd can run over and make a quick tackle and you're not going to gain many yards. Then as you see, when the back runs more upfield, then Lloyd closes that gap a little bit while still making sure he's paying attention to where Mahomes is. So again, these little things to make just throws more difficult are, again, that's what defense is. That's what coverage is and what he can bring to the table. So he can blitz, he can play coverage. I didn't talk much about run defense, but he's totally good in run defense as well. And of course, I got to talk about this play. If I'm showing footage from this game, might as well discuss it. So
this play is insane, where he essentially takes it back to the house, and it's insane. It's also what the pundits were saying is Lloyd is, in a way, Devin Lloyd reminds me of Rodriguez, where his big playmaking ability is insane, right? Like his turnovers and his fumble recovery, everything is insane when it comes to that. But to me, that's why I don't want to get Rodriguez. I would rather get CJ Allen, because CJ Allen is going to be just more consistent when it comes to that stuff than Rodriguez.
This was the kind of probably his career highlight at this point. You see where he is on the field, showing pressure here, right? That's what Jacksonville's doing. Watch how he really sells that pressure well. Takes a couple steps in, but then drops back, and he sells it so well, in fact, that when he was faking as though he's going to be pressuring towards the offense, so this was the kind of probably his career highlight at this point. You see where he is on the field, showing pressure here, right? That's what Jacksonville's doing. Watch how he really sells that pressure well. Takes a couple steps in, but then drops back, and he sells it so well, in fact, that when he was faking as though he's going to be pressuring towards the offense's left, now dropping back towards the offense's right, Mahomes just doesn't realize that Devin Lloyd is dropping back in the coverage right now. So again, really good fake, and watch him take advantage of it by being able to actually catch the ball too. Hey, we've seen so many defenders get in position and then not be able to make the catch, but he makes the catch and he juked out Mahomes, took it all the way for a 98-yard touchdown return. That was definitely a huge play in that game. So yeah, I mean, listen, again, this last play is more of a fun one, but it goes to show that when you can blitz well, it can help you in coverage. But he's just someone who can understand his assignment. And listen, you get one of those guys in there, well, that makes it easier on your other players over the middle, right? Like, okay, I know he's going to do his job, so I can trust him and trust that I'll do this. When you have guys who you don't trust as much, you almost overcompensate and can get yourself in issues. So because of that, again, it takes more than just one player to play good defense, but he is someone who will help Carolina kind of build this defensive core, which does need to improve after last season, and he's someone that should be able to do it. So, yeah, as a whole, I think it's a really interesting player, but a signing I really like, and I think is a smart one. So, yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Devin Lloyd and what he'll bring to the Carolina Panthers. Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as
I just think he's going to elevate our coverage like so much. I think the way that the Panthers have been a liability in coverage for such a long time is not okay. And I think teams were able to game plan against a lack of coverage. It was just it was so bad on the coverage side of things. It was so bad on the coverage side of things. So like I'm excited that we have a linebacker that's going to be able to, like, I'm sorry, but like, not suck at coverage. Like that he's just not going to suck at coverage. And I don't know what other word to use like then I don't know. Like it's the fact that his coverage is going to be like better than that, I think is a really big deal, because right now it just wasn't good with Wallace, right? And we all know that it wasn't good with Wallace. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be more than okay. All right, let's see what the guys over here.
Here's the magic pen that erases scratches instantly. Look, no cuts, no Photoshop.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Matt Harmon. Welcome to the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast, and it is a hell of a day to talk ball because it is yet another edition of Mock Draft Monday, and here,
the most athletic, if not.
I want to talk about Kenyon Sadiq here because I know. So he's not specifically talking about Carolina, but Kenyon is a name that continues to be brought up as somebody the Panthers should get. I did a mock. On Twitter, I essentially said, hey, what guy do y'all want? And number 1 was Thieneman. Number 2 was Sadiq, right? And number 3, there was somebody else that was number 3. But the main guys that I think people want are Sadiq and Thieneman. So I want to kind of talk about it.
The most athletic tight end that we've ever seen test at the combine. Basically Vernon Davis style numbers athletically. And so, obviously there's questions about his production in college, but I think it was validating to see kind of him put those numbers up athletically, speed, explosion, change of direction. You kind of see that stuff on tape. And so he feels like a player that is not going to drop very far in this draft, especially in a draft where there aren't a ton of blue chip players.
Yeah. Before we get to Kenyon Sadiq specifically, I do kind of want to have you hit that last point there about blue chip players and the lack of them in this class, because that's something that I think anytime I've talked with anyone about, we'll say pass catchers here to group Sadiq in with the wide receivers, but some of the guys at the receiver position, I think, that have been getting pushed up, it's like, well, are they really all that great of players, or is it just like this is the deepest position in the draft and there's just not that many guys to rank in your top 30 or top 25 or whatever? So kind of before we talk about Sadiq specifically and the Chiefs specifically, zoom out here a little bit and tell the people who maybe are just coming into the draft phase, coming out of free agency, like what they can kind of expect from this class as a whole.
I think there's a handful of, I don't even know if blue chip is the right term, but very exciting prospects, especially edge players. I guess edge and linebacker, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles. This class, I think, is defined by the fact that it's got a bunch of really exciting players at lower, quote unquote, lower value positions, whether that's linebacker, off-ball linebacker, running back. Obviously, Jeremiah Love is going to go pretty highly in this class. I think he could even go top 10. There's a lot of talk about him top 5 at this point. Safeties.
I think Jeremiah Love, if I've understood the reports correctly, there's a chance that Jeremiah Love doesn't get out of the top 5. Like, there's a chance Jeremiah Love goes to Tennessee at 4. There's a chance that Jeremiah Love goes to New York at 5. Those are 2 viable teams for Jeremiah Love. I mean, if people were making a big deal, about Ashton Genty going too high, think about what's going to happen now. Like, that's just crazy.
He's another position that I think there's really interesting, really, really exciting players. So I think it's going into this draft. The question in my mind is going to be, how willing are teams going to be to take these quote unquote like less premium positions early on in the draft? Because outside of that, there are just not a lot of quote unquote blue chip players. There's a couple of very good tackles. I wouldn't call them elite prospects. There's a couple of edge players. All the edge players have some big question mark attached to them pretty much. And so, then there's a couple of guards, a couple of defensive tackles. It really does come down to how willing teams are going to be to take non-premium positions in the top 10.
So, like, give me a number. When you're ranking the class, what's like the first guy that you're like, this doesn't feel like a top 8, top 10, top 12 type play? What's the first guy? You don't have to give me a name, but just like around the number, where you're like, this is where it falls off.
Honestly, 6 or 7. I think it's, you could even like look at the guy who's going to be the number 1 pick in Fernando Mendoza. I think in most drafts, he's probably not the top pick. In most drafts, a guy like Arvell Reese and or Sonny Styles are probably not going to be the number 2 overall pick. I could even go as far as saying like there might be no guys in this class that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a top 5 guy. You know what I mean? Because there are those questions on position group, and every one of these guys, Ruben Bain is a perfect example. I mean, Ruben Bain, when you watch him play, he's the top 5 pick all day. Then he's a massive outlier because of his lack of arm length, and whether teams, are going to be okay with that, because, betting on outliers, generally speaking, is a losing proposition. Sometimes it works, but most of the time that's why they're called outliers, and I think, there's going to be a lot of surprises in this draft. I know people say that every year, but there's going to be more than ever players that you don't really expect to go in the top 10 or 15 probably go in this class because of everything I just kind of broke down. Even some of the top corners, lack of speed, lack of explosiveness. Jermod McCoy coming off of an injury and didn't practice or didn't participate.
I do think McCoy from Tennessee, to me, is a top 5 player in this draft class. And I think if he had not gotten hurt, now it's a big hurt because his ACL essentially broke, but if he had not gotten hurt, he would be playing. I mean, he would be a top 5 guy right now. So if the result is like best player available, I think McCoy should be in conversations at 19.
In the combine, it feels like with every single one of these players in this class, there is a big question mark. So I'm not trying to like poo-poo the whole class, but that does kind of that is kind of how it feels to me, that there's just question marks with pretty much everybody in this class.
Well, I think that dovetails us perfectly right back to the Kenyon Sadiq thing, where you're talking about like a guy who probably is not a top 10 prospect, maybe not in this draft, maybe not in any draft. And yet, could we get that surprising type of player? I will say this: we've done 2 Mock Draft Monday episodes before this one. We did a joint one with Nate Tice in the Football 301 crossover. Then we did one with EJ Snyder from the Combine as well. Kenyon Sadiq has now come up in all 3 of them, so I think he is a fascinating player to continue to get people's thoughts on. But kind of before we talk about his fit with the Chiefs and why you like this one, again, you mentioned the lack of production. Like, what are the pros and cons of him as a prospect?
So the pros are obviously, like I mentioned, athleticism. I do think in terms of his archetype as a player, he is more of a dual threat guy who can be out there in rundowns and blocking. And he's
the thing that gets lost about Sadiq for me, is how good of a blocker he actually is. Like, Sadiq is a phenomenal blocker. He is a really, really, really good blocker. Nate Tice actually compared him to like a little bit of a like Tommy Tremble plus, in terms of the fact that he can be a playmaker now. Panthers fans aren't going to want it like that because Tommy Tremble has not been a game changer. But Sadiq to me is like a 3-4 target guy. I don't know what people see with Sadiq and say, oh yeah, he's going to catch 10 to 15 targets. He's going to be throwing the ball 10 times. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Pretty good at getting out in space, stealing off guys on screenplays. He's not a 0 as a blocker. In fact, I think he's a pretty good blocker. He has some potential to be a very good blocker, and so he's not a typical move tight end that you'd kind of expect with a player where I think Dalton Kincaid kind of comes to mind where it's like you just don't really know what to do with him. He's a really good receiver, or theoretically he's a really good receiver, but you just don't really know how to utilize him because when he's on the field, it's very much a tell for what your offense is going to do. I don't think Sadiq is that player at all. He's the type of guy who he likes to, get in there and block. He's gritty. He sustains. He's really strong. I mean, if you look at his upper body, his biceps are absolutely freakish. Like he has biceps on shredded, his biceps. Yeah. And so, he's going to be undersized. That's one of the cons. 6'3", 241, I think he measured in at. But he can get in there and block. He reminds me of like a Laporta type, where maybe not like an elite blocker, but good enough to be on the field all 3 downs and not going to totally give away what you're doing. So that would be a plus. And then obviously the speed, his ability to get up the seam. He does have some drops that would probably be in the negative category, but he also is the type of player, and you probably run into these types of guys all the time, charting receivers. He makes some incredible catches also. He's like capable of making the tough catches, but then sometimes drops the easy ones. So I really do like him. It does worry me in the back of my mind that his production relative to some of these other elite tight ends that we've seen come into the league is not good.
Yeah, one of the knocks on Sadiq, and honestly, it's not really my knock, because to me, it doesn't bother me as much as he did not produce the way Bowers did. He did not produce the way Loveland did. He did not produce the way these guys did. And that's like, I don't know, like I don't freak out about that as much, but the lack of production is there. He is jacked. Can we talk about, he is absolutely jacked, though. Holy shit.
Good in terms of just yards per route run and overall production. But, the tools are there, and I think the effort and grit as a blocker is there to make him an every down guy. So overall, I really do like him. I think he has, especially in this class, the top 10 potential.
Get tax expertise without hidden fees. Switch to a TurboTax expert for $150. All tax situations, all returns, $150, all in, no surprises. Now this is taxes.
I gifted my husband these pants, and now he wears them everywhere. Meet mesh irons, the most flattering.
Yeah, I don't want to totally wave away the production concerns, but I do think and I'm sure people have done way better like database modeling on everything that I'm about to say when I'm just going to throw like anecdotal evidence out here. But to me, like watching college offenses, I don't know that they necessarily have what it takes to, from a conceptual standpoint, like integrate a tight end. Some NFL offenses really struggle to integrate like a tight end into their base passing concepts, like as the first or second read. So college offenses certainly, I think, are a step behind that. So I don't know if that's like totally a huge concern, but I love your point about his ability as a blocker. Again, I don't chart tight ends, I just chart the receivers. So this is, again, just more of me like watching.
Yeah, I know Panthers fans want him. I don't think he's going to be available at 19. I think that there's going to be teams, because of the lack of talent, I think that there's going to be teams that take him higher. Albert Breer said that Kenyon Sadiq is a potential successor of Travis Kelce. There's a lot. Miami, I've heard Miami be linked to him. So I think there's going to be a lot of teams that take him even before he gets to Carolina.
Watching cut-ups on the guy. I do think he is willing and able. And willing is the biggest thing. Like if you can't just completely shy away from it, you've got to want to have it. You got to have a little want to there. I think he certainly brings that to the table. I don't think he's quite in the danger zone of like a Dalton Kincaid, where it's like this guy's a glorified slot receiver, and that essentially just means he's like the slowest slot receiver in the league. So that's where he's gotten kind of stuck there. I actually really like your Laporta comparison in a way that like Laporta is not a great blocker or anything, but he's not an outright negative there as well. So kind of talk to me about your fit with him here in Kansas City and sort of what you're imagining there if he ends up being the 9th overall pick.
So look, the receiver core in Kansas City is in flux. I don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice going forward. Stinks is probably a better and more succinct way of putting it. Xavier Worthy, even though he is literally fast, I don't know what speed element he truly brings to the offense. I think Tyquan Thornton was much more of that kind of guy for the Chiefs last year. I think basically the reason I paired Sadiq with the Chiefs in this draft is because I do think they need more speed. This was before they signed Kenneth Walker, but that doesn't really change anything for me, because I think on paper or in practice felt like one of the slowest offenses last year. And so getting a guy with the speed to run after is...
All right, let's talk about I want to talk about Denzel Boston, because I have different thoughts on Denzel Boston than most people do. I realize this because I think Denzel Boston has the opportunity to be really, really, really good. Now, is Denzel Boston a perfect prospect? He is not. Is Denzel Boston anywhere close to what McMillan was? He is not. Is Denzel Boston like? I just think Denzel Boston has the opportunity to be better than people think he is. And if the Panthers want to trade back, I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with taking Denzel at 25, 26, 27. I know I am in the minority there, but like, y'all are sleeping on how good Denzel is.
The draft, that's trenches, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. They've invested in the cornerbacks group lately, which has been a huge payoff for them. And receiver has been a big thing for them. So Boston, again, is in that vein where big-bodied, go up and get the ball, win at the catch point. I think he fits exactly what Jalen Hurts brings to the offense in terms of Hurts is willing to throw the ball up, down the field, down the sideline, and let the receiver do his job. And so I think Boston fits that kind of archetype. He's not the most explosive, not the twitchiest guy, but he's really good at the catch point, really good at separating late, and has great body control and hands at the catch point.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Boston, and I think this actually makes a ton of sense if we're considering. Yeah, my comparison for him was Diet Coke, Mike Evans, Bud Light,
like
Mike Evans, whatever you want to.
Yeah.
The graphic is just great. Shout out to Jason Jung on that one. But like, that was my comparison for him, which was funny because in the first mock draft Monday, I sent him to San Francisco, and then they were like, screw that. Let's sign full ABV Mike Evans at 33 years old. Like, let's just go ahead and go for that.
Yeah.
The Four Loco version of Mike Evans. So that's fine. But I think though, if we're thinking about Boston in this Eagles offense, which what do you think the Eagles offense is going to look like this year? Because like Sean Mannion coming in here, everything they're saying and signaling by signing, a blocking tight. I don't want to make too much of this, but signing like a blocking tight end like Johnny Munt, and like reworking Goddard's contract. I think. Yeah. They still brought back Grant Calcaterra, who can't block a soul, but like it does seem as if they want to transition to more of a whatever you want to call it, Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur type offense. Do you think I'm reading that right? Like, do you think that's what this offense is going to look like this year? Or what's your kind of sense of the situation?
My sense of the situation has kind of been, and look, I lived through the Russell Wilson era in Seattle. I'm a Seahawks fan. So every offseason they talk about this, that, or the other thing that they're going to like make the offense into, implement the offense. What offensive coordinator are we bringing in here? What's it going to be? At the end of the day, it was the Russell Wilson offense every year. And I think that's kind of what the Eagles are. It's going to be the Jalen Hurts offense. Basically how your offense works around what he's willing to do. You could say his limitations are just what he's willing to do because he just generally doesn't want to turn the ball over. That's usually a very good thing that you don't turn the ball over. But he's not, if you look at the numbers, he's not passing over the middle field, not nearly as often as most quarterbacks do. That kind of shrinks what the defense has to really respect and makes it harder for everything else. That's exactly kind of what happened with Russell Wilson throughout his career. And I think we're seeing the same thing happen with Jalen Hurts. And so, the offense will be different. It's a little bit different every year, and I'm sure the focuses will be slightly different. I'm sure they want to get Saquon going a little bit more this year, have him be the foundation of the offense. But the passing game is probably just going to be dictated by what Jalen Hurts is comfortable doing, and I don't think he's usually all that comfortable putting it over the middle of the field and putting it at risk, so to speak. And so that was, again, kind of why I saw Boston as a big fit for him is, he can win those outside routes. He can win down the sideline. He does. I thought he's pretty interesting running out the slot as well, like what he can do over the middle of the field, a little bit of run after the catch. But big body, win at the catch point, Moss cornerbacks, on these 50-50 balls and try to create explosive plays in the passing game.
What would you tell a man who's been late to everything for 40 years, no matter how hard he tries to be on time? I'd tell him his brain isn't broken.
This is why I end up with the kind of Bud Light, Mike Evans.
I think it's whoever gets Denzel Boston, right? Whether it's Carolina, whether it's whoever, what kind of wide receiver do you want, right? Do you want a Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, Jordan Tyson, like very quick, very twitchy, right? Like very off the ball? Or do you want somebody like somebody that wins at the catch point, right? Like somebody that wins contested catches. And he's not going to beat you with your speed. I just have a hard time. One of the things that makes me nervous is I have a hard time seeing how Dan Morgan is going to invest a lot of money into a small wide receiver. I know that Jordan Tyson is another darling. Jordan Tyson is not the kind of receiver that the Panthers have gone after. He's just not. So I like him. I like him in the quick game. That's the other thing too. Like Jordan Tyson is very good in the quick game. Jordan Tyson is phenomenal in the quick game. And if the Panthers are going to run like more RPO stuff, right? Like if the Panthers are going to more run like in and out stuff, then sure, I'm fine with that. But all I'm saying is that Denzel Boston is the kind of wide receiver that Dan Canales has wanted. That's all I'm saying about that. Literally all I'm saying.
Comparison for him, because number one, you just can't. I mean, I'm never going to say you're Mike Evans, because Mike Evans is like a one of one freak, like longest arms we've ever seen at the wide receiver position ever. But I do think the way that Mike Evans has become this guy that, yeah, if you want him to go run on the perimeter and dunk on you on like dunk on opposing defenses on go routes and some of those outside perimeter routes like you're talking about here, which are very much the Jalen Hurts routes, he can absolutely do that. But Mike has developed so much as a guy that can run out of the slot and run some of those in breakers. Like that's the best stuff he does right now, is run like slants and digs from the X receiver spot or from the slot or whatever. That's some of his best work right now. And I think Boston could be one of the, he shows flashes of doing that too, especially against zone coverage, maybe more than man coverage, just because he's got that big body. He knows how to use it, like shield defenders, like create those windows there, breaking over the middle of the field. And I think that's the fun part about this, is that you're totally right to compare Jalen Hurts to Russell Wilson. Like Nate and I have done that at times too, that it kind of feels like a similar arc there, that every offense just becomes the Jalen Hurts offense, just like every offense became the Russell Wilson offense. But I do think they want to be different. The reality is like Hurts just has to make it work. But Boston, I think, is a fun pairing here, because he could live in the old world, or if Hurts pulls off the evolution, I think he makes a ton of sense in an offense that's trying to work over the middle of the field like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, on paper, this looks like a little redundant if AJ Brown is still in Philly, but they Howie Roseman's always the type of guy who plans a year in advance on a lot of these positions. He's not sort of trying to patch holes as they go. He wants to have a deep roster at every position. So yeah, that was kind of my thinking on this. And they generally, like I said, they usually spend their first rounders on the premium position. I think wide receiver is that for them.
100%. And they've tried to get like a third receiver in. There's not a point, because they're never going to get the targets when you have Brown and Smith, like especially, and you have Goddard. Like they're never going to get targets. But they traded for Jahan Dotson. They drafted guys like Arian Smith and Johnny Wilson. Like they've tried to find that third receiver at times here. Yeah, another big boy. They've tried. I'll never forget. They've tried to find that guy. Just hasn't really happened yet. So that's one thing. But before we toss to break here, before we get off this one, like, do you think AJ Brown is on this Eagles team? Like, do you think he's on this team at this point?
I think he will be on the team at least this year. And then I forget what his contract implications are, but I think he's like more valuable to them this season, where they kind of can go for it. Both conferences are kind of wide open. This, that was like why the Seahawks were such a surprising Super Bowl winner this last year, I think, is because there's just a lot of teams that are sort of in flux or whatever. And especially with the AFC in flux with, Burrow, his supporting cast is kind of all over the place, especially on defense. Mahomes coming off the ACL. The Chiefs are kind of in the down year. A lot of teams are loading up and trying to go for it this year. And I think the Eagles certainly see themselves as a team that could win the Super Bowl this year. So they're better with him than without him. And, especially having the DJ Moore trade, I thought there was like a small chance that maybe a team could just give like 2 seconds and a player or something like that and go get AJ Brown. He's getting a little up there in age. He's, kind of a malcontent, or at least that's what it seems like on the outside. And I thought maybe they could do that. But now when DJ Moore is going for a second, I'm like, you got to give at least a first to go get a guy like AJ Brown. And so I think that's kind of narrowed the potential trade options for, teams wanting to trade with the Eagles. So that kind of changed my opinion a little bit on this whole thing.
Yeah, it's like when the Christian Kirk contract launched the wide receiver market into the stratosphere. It changed everything, and it's like, wow, we got to trade this guy because like Christian Kirk is making this. Like it was a big domino effect there. Because I'm with you. If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, especially when the Eagles people with the team are starting to come out and be like, we think Devontae Smith could be an alpha, like in the right situation.
Totally.
Like, by the way, I also think that, and that tells me that you're trying to sell. I would love to see it too, and I think we will at some point. I would have thought, okay, AJ's gone, but that DJ Moore trade, I'm with you because I think AJ Brown is not worth a first-round pick at this point. Like, I would not trade a first-round pick based.
That is wild to me. that Matt Harmon saying that is a wild take, and it looks like what the Eagles are asking for is they're asking for a first-rounder, a second-rounder, and another player. So essentially, Howie is
based on the film that AJ put out last year. I just don't think you can do it. I know what the reputation is. I know that's what the Eagles want, but still. And but the fact that the DJ Moore trade, like Brandon Beane threw that second rounder in there, if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm like, I don't care if AJ took a step back on film last year. We're still needing a first if he's getting a second. So I think he at least is on the team through the trade deadline. Now is kind of my thought, but I'm also willing to totally be wrong about that. But either way, I think Denzel Boston is a fun fit, Danny, because he kind of allows the Eagles to live in one of those two worlds as we've outlined here. We are going to take our first quick break. When we come back, Danny Kelly gives us 2 more player to team fits that he absolutely loves. We'll get into that right after this.
After 4 decades of compression socks, here's what I'll never do again. Okay, so here's 3 things.
All right, we're back. We're continuing Mock Draft Monday here with Danny Kelly from The Ringer. He's got 2 more player to team fits that he absolutely loves. Danny, give us your next one here.
So the other one I have here is Jordan Tyson going to the Steelers. I think this is an interesting one simply because the Steelers have almost no one else on their roster outside DK Metcalf. So I kind of wanted to just make sure I circled that. Last year, with the Steelers late in the season, we're running out some like just crazy receiver group late in the season. If you look at their depth chart, you can't like name. There's like 2 guys you can name on their roster: Roman Wilson and DK Metcalf, and then there's a handful of guys on the practice squad. I know that in free agency, they could potentially still add some guys and fix that group a little bit, but they need more talent at receiver. Who did they sign? They signed. They traded for Michael Pittman. So that definitely. Pittman, I thought that was a smart move, and that was basically in line with why I was giving them Jordan Tyson in this post-combine mock. But I do think they still need depth. I mean, basically, it's DK Metcalf, Ben Skoranek, and Roman Wilson outside of Michael Pittman ad. Right. So, depth. It's just ironic from a team that for years was known as the receiver factory, the team that couldn't miss on receiver. Although they missed a few guys, but like just superstar after superstar receiver. And you look at their depth chart, and it's really just bare at this point. They could still, even with Michael Pittman, they need another guy. So, Jordan Tyson, he's a twitchy receiver, moves really smoothly, big catch radius, big guy. I think he could add a little bit as a run after the catch type of threat. 3-level guy, he can tackle 3 levels. I just think he makes a lot of sense, and he would be a good complement to DK Metcalf. I think he's kind of in that. He's in a similar vein, I guess, to Michael Pittman in some ways. But yeah, I think the Steelers just need weapons at this point.
Right, and obviously, if it's this year and it's Aaron Rodgers and hopefully by the time this show goes out, we have an answer to that, but probably not. We probably will go 5 more mock draft Mondays before we find out if Aaron Rodgers is starting for the Steelers or not. Although, I'm hoping that this take ages super poorly, and we do have an answer by the time the show goes out. However, regardless, I'm with you that it might not be a year 1 thing for Jordan Tyson if Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback. He's behind DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman, but nevertheless, like I actually think that could be good for Jordan Tyson because we'll come back to this. I kind of think he could use a year of seasoning and development, but. I think when we look at this receiver room, you're so right. Like it's completely bare bones.
PFF is currently doing a live where they're mocking the Panthers, and I wanted to hop on in.
I'm assuming this is about Peter Woods and maybe the conversation of like, it was a big boot.
Same. Is it
who would
redundant to McDonald? It's basically the same type of player.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll do that.
I think it's Sadiq or Allen. They could go interior. Like I wouldn't hate McDonald here either.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, this is no coward mock. Seconds before you made that pick, it's tackles in the first round, guaranteed of any mock draft that we did right after the Senior Bowl. And then we had some combine performances. I got a lot more to the defensive tackle tape, to be candid with you guys, and I just don't see it. I just don't see it anymore.
I think you have a lot of different types of players. You have a lot of one-dimensional players.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that Banks could be the biggest 2-dimensional player, but the injuries and just the lack of playing over the last year, only played 3 games this past year, and the inconsistency still gives you pause. I'm going to go McNeil Warren here. I'm going to call out the Harrison Smith replacement. That Thieneman has moved past Minnesota on the boards and even to higher picks than this. If Thieneman was there, that would be a good pick too. But I'm going McNeil Warren out of Toledo.
Trav Walker gave us a $5 super chat literally seconds before you made that pick and said not Nicky Memori. Emmanuel McNeil Warren is another Josh Metellus. Please stop mocking him to the Vikings.
Open a whole new world of fascinating places and people for just $34.
Take your pick. Don't conform. Who else are you going to pick?
Who else am I going to pick?
Yeah, right. You made the case for Emmanuel McNeil Warren. You think that that's what's going to happen?
I can take C.J. Allen. I can take Caden McDonald. I can do a lot of different things.
The only other one that I would think of is Caden McDonald. But if you don't pick Emmanuel McNeil Warren, now I think you're a coward.
Oh, wow. We can't have that. All right, back to it.
We can't have that.
All right, go ahead. Carolina's on the board.
All right, Carolina's on the board.
No coward behavior in this mock.
No.
Treat it like it's your last.
Yeah, this is correct. Yeah, this is no coward mock. Not going to pick CJ Allen anymore with the money that they devoted to Devin Lloyd. Yeah, they're not going to go linebacker the first round. Don't give me that.
Do you trust Trevin? I mean, I don't think
but they're not going to go. They're not going to pick linebacker in the first round. Jordan Tyson, they could.
I think
here's the only thing. Here's the thing I like about Trevor, by the way. Trevor lives in Charlotte. He's very plugged in Charlotte. Like, he knows what he's talking about. So this idea that, like, oh yeah, there's no way that the Panthers would do that. Like, he's plugged in. So the three guys that I continue to see mocked more than anything are CJ Allen, number one, Kenyon Sadiq, number two, and who's the third guy? So CJ Allen, Kenyon Sadiq, Jordan Tyson.
I think Sadiq is very much in play here.
Sadiq is, if they believe in, the ceiling, like if they believe, hey, he's going to be a much more productive pro than he was at the college level. I don't think they're going edge rusher or D-line.
They could go interior. Like, I wouldn't hate McDonald here either.
Yeah, maybe.
Omar Cooper. We've heard Omar Cooper starting to get into this area.
So who's your nose right now? Please nose for him.
It's Ashawn Robinson's gone.
Bobby Brown. They do have Cam Jackson though. I think Cam Jackson's going to get some good run this year because he's a super strong player. He's got the long arms. He's perfect for the odd front.
And that's really redundant to McDonald. It's basically the same type of player.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll do that.
I think it's Sadiq or Allen. I think you could still think about Allen. Because if you don't, I'm taking him at 20, and we're just going to move on.
What pick do we have here? They have 52?
51. 51. You can get a linebacker at 51 if you want it.
You can get a linebacker at 51.
You get anything you want at 51.
So I'm taking Jordan Tyson here.
The mystery box could be anything.
I'm taking Jordan Tyson.
Okay, Jordan Tyson. All right, we're going with it. You're putting Xavier Legette on alert right now.
Well, he's just going to run the vertical routes. Yeah.
Oh, could do that too. Jordan Tyson, get that range on. The Arizona and Arizona State out there at receiver. Wow, I love it.
Oh. Hold on.
All right, CJ Allen, no questions here at all at 20. I get a DB and a linebacker. That's the goal for me in the first round for Dallas.
All right, we got a new comment by my man. What time is it, by the way? Sometimes I want you to do a comparison between CJ Allen and Vega Rodriguez. I know you're a CJ guy, so I want to see where the separation is for you. Okay, so here's we can talk about it right now. I also don't mind making like a longer video on YouTube and on TikTok or whatever. But here's what I like about Jacob. And Michael, you are here on the live. Have you been here the whole time, bro? What a bro. We need to be friends, man. I appreciate you being here. But here's what I like about CJ. CJ to me is so good at being incredible. Like, number one, his mental processing is through the roof. Like, he is highly intelligent. Incredibly intelligent. The mental processing is through the roof, right? He's telling on the tape, he's telling other players where the ball is going to go. I'm not saying he's Luke Kuechly. No one is literally like Luke Kuechly. But in terms of anybody in this draft class with the mental, like, hey, like the leader-like stuff that Luke has, CJ is that guy. Now, what Jacob Rodriguez does, Jacob is a game wrecker. It wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility to me that Jacob gets like 2 fumbles in a game. Like, there's games, especially last year, where he would take over a game. So I like Rodriguez in terms of that. But there are some lapses in, like, when they use him in the blitz game, there's some lapses with that. When he has to kind of like get behind D linemen and tackle, there's lapses in that. But like in space, he is phenomenal. So I'm with you. Like, Jacob is fine. I just think we already have a guy like Devin Lloyd who does that very well. Devin Lloyd is a a guy that will take the ball away. Devin Lloyd. So that, like, I already feel like we have a guy like that. And now we can have CJ Allen, who I think is like 21 years old, right? Like, we can have a guy that is going to be a leader of that team in the back. So that's why I personally like CJ more than Jacob Rodriguez. Now, if CJ goes in the first round and like Jacob's available in the second round, I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not going to be bummed. Like, I'm not going to be bummed that we take Jacob Rodriguez. I just don't want Jacob in the first. I do not want Jacob Rodriguez in the first round. But yeah, I love CJ. I love CJ. But I also like Jacob as well. I just don't want to take him in the first round. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Moving on. Pittsburgh, 21.
Pittsburgh.
You trying to improve at tackle? Could.
Would love to, honestly.
I think this is, I think, one that I might have done. I did this sometime in a recent mock draft, whichever one was my previous last one. And Omar Cooper makes a lot of sense here, I think.
I don't think they do it after acquiring Michael Pittman, though.
He adds. I only say this because
I don't think it's wrong.
He adds a different dimension to the room than the other two. I mean, it's either that or I'm looking to upgrade at tackle.
Yeah.
Because I'm in on the idea of potentially not starting Broderick Jones anymore.
Yeah, can I see offensive tackles?
Absolutely.
Can I see? Who would go first?
Oh, sorry, not that one. I'm just clicking things.
He's a guard.
Feels like Blake Miller's got momentum too, doesn't he?
Yeah, of the guys that are left, I feel like it's Miller alone.
Also, for those of you that want Blake Miller to be available in the second round, there's no way that's happening. Blake Miller is now being taken, like the PFF mock thing or whoever you use, PSFN. He's got a 25 rank right now. He's going in front of Caden Proctor. So, like, there's no way Blake Miller is going to be available in later rounds.
Lomu, you get to just play at left tackle. Miller, you play at right, and then you're moving Fatanu back to left where he played in college. I'll go Blake Miller.
Blake Miller. There we
54 starts at right tackle. Gonna come in right away.
Chargers. I feel like there are some guys for the Chargers that I like picking for them that are gone.
Mm-hmm. This is also a Caleb Banks spot.
This could be a Caleb Banks spot. I've been taking Mesidor lately when I get to the Chargers. Do I reach down for a guard or wait till 55, we think?
Who's next at guard?
That'd be Pregnon, which I could make the case for. You know, I'm a Pregnon guy.
Yeah, you are, indeed.
The Pregnonaganda.
Might have to work on that.
They're calling it.
I don't know. I don't know if they are calling it that.
Is it TJ Parker here? Do I keep loading up off the edge? They have Mack and Thule, but they could use another younger one. Like, I've been taking Mesidor a lot as the team. They're like, win now. Yes, he's older, but he's also a really good third guy to add in that rotation. Is it Parker, or do I just take the swing on Banks even though I don't love it? Killing me, Trev.
I think you got to make the pick, brother.
Oh, I do.
I think they'd probably pick Banks, honestly.
All right, we're doing it.
Well.
Now we got to undo it. Oh, look at the Gator Great backing off. Oh, now he doesn't like the fit. Oh,
now with the foot.
Oh,
he's a foot guy.
Oh, the foot. You know who got the foot? The Gators basketball team the other day. Okay.
No, I got to see it in person, my friend.
All right, TJ Parker.
It was a big boot.
Same. That's all right. You're still a 1 seed. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine.
We're playing the team that knocked us out in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, Blake Miller's going 21. That's crazy to me. Blake Miller was like a round 2 guy for a very, very, very long time. So very, very interesting that, yeah, very, 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 very interesting. All right. We went for an hour and a half. I think I am content. Michael, I'm going to DM you just to thank you for being here. There's 31 of y'all on Twitter. There's not anybody on YouTube, but there was at some point we were like 3, 4, 5 people on YouTube. So appreciate everybody being here. We'll talk soon, and hope y'all have a good day. I'll make a video And I'll make a YouTube video later, and I'll see y'all tomorrow morning, same time.